Right. In the meantime, from overseas today, Britain's Ministry of Defense is today refusing to comment on a report that their pilots spent years trying to shoot down UFOs. It allegedly happened a number of times dating back to the 1980s. Well, Nick Pope is our guest. He made this information public. He's also the former head of the Ministry of Defense's UFO project. So if anybody knows, we think it's you, Nick. So welcome to our program here from the Thames River in London. Now, you say that they've been trying to do this for about 30 years. How do we know that?
Well, there are many cases which are now in the public domain about this. The Ministry of Defence here in Britain has been investigating UFOs since the 1950s, but other countries as well have had these sorts of incidents. And I think it's a question of trying to put them together and see what pattern emerges. And there was a case in England in 1957 where a pilot attempted to bring down a UFO by firing rockets at it. There was a case in Iran in 1976. The UFO, whatever it was, and we don't know, managed to deactivate the pilot's air-to-air weapons systems.
Now, I find this fascinating. Let's go through it a step at a time right now. Now, you said in your quote is saying that we want to shoot down a UFO that will resolve the issue once and for all. To your knowledge, have they ever been successful?
No, they haven't. And I mean, I'm personally, of course, not advocating that sort of strategy. But what I was saying is that every country, whether it's America, Britain, whatever, takes the territorial integrity of its airspace very, very seriously, particularly post 9/11, of course. This is, whatever you think about UFOs, whatever you think they are, whether you're a skeptic, you're a believer or whatever, this is a defence issue, it's a national security issue, it's an air safety issue, and while rules of engagement are of course highly classified, the last option is of course always a shoot down.
All right, now you have said that the Royal Air Force would only engage when they perceived a threat. Well, how do you define what is a perceived threat? Is that the pilot's call?
No, yes, under some circumstances it has to be. If a pilot believes that they're being fired on, but we've had some cases in England where there have been virtual dogfights between UFOs and military jets.
Dogfights?
Yeah, the dogfights, yeah, absolutely. These things, the UFO issue suffers, I think, from an image problem. But actually, if you look behind the silly season stories about this, these things are seen by pilots, they are tracked on radar, and there have been many, many incidents on the record over the years of these sorts of things.
If there was a dogfight, pardon the interruption here, over the hills of England or the countryside of England, we'd know about that by now, would we not?
Well, yes, and indeed that's the exciting news. The Ministry of Defence is in the process of declassifying and releasing its entire archive of UFO files going back decades.
And when will that happen?
Some of it has already been released and is available at the National Archives at the website. Some of it, it's going to take about a year or so to finish this process. But it's happening right now, and people are going to be able to see these sorts of incidents for themselves. But like I say, it's not just Britain. This has happened all around the world.
Okay, specifically these orange or yellow spheres, which eyewitnesses claim to be UFOs. Now, we've had a little bit of that back here in our own country, okay? Different parts of the country, New Jersey and Arizona. And what they've concluded in some of these cases is that neighbors are filling up helium balloons, putting a flare on the bottom of it, lighting it, letting it go up in the air. So it looks like it's drifting in a certain pattern or a certain area, but it's not a UFO, Nick. It's just somebody pulling a prank.
No, absolutely. We have the same thing here in Britain, and I've actually seen these sorts of things myself. Yes, of course, 95% of UFO sightings do turn out to be things like these helium balloons and aircraft lights. But that's not what's of interest to the government and the military, of course. They're interested in these UFOs when they're tracked on military radar systems and when they're seen by pilots. Commercial airline pilots have seen them, military pilots have seen them.
Nick, are you a believer?
On the balance of probability, I think it's more likely than not that we're not alone in the universe. Whether these things are extraterrestrial or not, I don't know. But we need to be treating this as a serious issue, I think. When we have these sorts of incidents in our airspace, it makes it a national security issue.
Looking forward to more declassification. Won't that be interesting? And a headline soon. Nick Pope, thank you for your time in London. Good to talk with you.
Thank you.
Here come the emails.
Incredible.
Egg.
He's a former government official.
Yeah.
Former head of the Ministry of Defense of their UFO project. Who knew they even had one? Okay. America's Newsroom at foxnews.com.